Hey everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and I'm here to talk to you about Materialists. This is the sophomore feature from writer-director Celine, who only 2 years ago gave us one of the best film debuts I've seen in a long time, and also still one of the best movies of the 2020s in Past Lives. It is a movie that is very tender, very sweet, very heartbreaking, and is just a lovely little movie about the what ifs of relationships that are sort of brought on by divides of time and divides of culture. And it was so good, in fact, that everyone was waited with bated breath on what Celine would make next. And which even knowing what the kind of movie that Past Lives is, it was very interesting and surprising to see the marketing for what her follow-up would be, because first thing obvious out of the way, the marketing for this movie is misleading. It is really, the trailers are really pushing that this is kind of a throwback to Nancy Meyers or Nora Ephron style rom-coms of the early 2000s, when this movie is not that. This is not a rom-com. This is much more dram than com. But it does, and while it does have some familiar trappings of rom-coms, at least in the initial setup and even parts of the resolutions and stuff. But this is instead still a soft, a tender and sweet movie about modern dating in your Middle Ages, and the sort of discomforts that come from not having money and even wanting money, but and it's honestly a sweet little movie. I really dug this. So sorry, I'm trying to shoot this. This is like the sixth time I'm showing this review, but anyway. So it is about Dakota Johnson as Lucy. She is a matchmaker in New York, and she's a pretty good one. She's had her 9th confirmed marriage from one of her clients, and but she's basically shut herself off from ever wanting romance. Instead, decided to view romance in the way that would require for a job, in terms of mathematics. In terms of filling out boxes on a checklist, and we see how that plays out in these fun little moments where her clientele, who are upper class and picky, often very specific in their pickiness, are really really treating modern dating, the modern dating pool as the way you would real estate. Is this spacious enough? Does it have a pool? Does the roof leak or whatever? But at one of these weddings, she is approached by Harry, who's played by Pedro Pascal. He is Pedro Pascal handsome and rich. And also there, as a caterer, is her ex John, played by Chris Evans. And he is not rich. He is still kind of down on his luck, still trying to be an actor. And from there, we follow a kind of sort of love triangle, where it's Lucy at kind of a crossroads of do I pick the rich guy? Do I pick the poor guy? But what I thought was interesting about Past Lives, about Materialists, in its sort of in the way that its plot resembles the kind of fun, quirky, kind of disposable rom-com that where Lucy's the way that she's challenged by her notions of love, it feels it is familiar, but in that sort of approachable formula, it actually turns into under the surface of this movie and of Lucy, there's feelings of loneliness, feelings of self-loathing, feelings of self-doubt and frustration, the way that she is the way that she is sort of allured by really the promise of being taken care of financially by Pedro Pascal's character, is something that is something that the movie both understands and doesn't really shame her for. And I really like that. Like, it could have been so easy to make him like this just very standoffish and a jerk, and her as, like, professional woman, single by choice, very sort of like salute, very like just kind of like selfishly minded like that. But like the movie treats that as like a very human sort of selfishness. There is a desire and for wanting more, and it's sort of, and it's always frustrating and sad when like relationships get in the way of that. There's a very cutting flashback between her and Chris Evans, where she's like frustrated that they're poor, and it's making her unhappy, and she's doubly frustrated that she is frustrated that they're poor, and that is making her unhappy. And it is cynical, but it also feels realistic in that way. But and it's sort of, and it is sort of occasionally it does lean into sort of into its more saccharine moments, mostly in the ways that it resolves these sort of issues, like turning, like the way that, like, when Lucy is sort of like pulled between one path and the other, the barriers that she's put up to, like, sort of shield herself off from like any romantic intentions. Obviously you see where it's going to lead, and she doesn't do a full 180, which I do like. This is that kind of movie, but you do read more of like an earnest heart, earnest emotions by the end of it. But it's just getting to that end, and it really could have. I think it could have been a lot tidier and definitely a lot neater. This movie is especially the tighter end, because this movie is like almost 2 hours long. Really does not need to be that long. It easily could have been like an hour 40, hour 45 at the most. And in between these spaces and throughout that length, you have these moments where they'll have conversations about money, about the relationships, and kind of will she, won't she, but also the sort of expectations that she places on herself professionally and personally and stuff like that. And it just doesn't quite make the journey as smooth as it could have. There's honestly a kind of a harrowing moment where she's sort of like faced with this the sort of danger that comes from dating with one of her clients, which feels very, it really shakes her, and she can't really, and she really takes it personally. But like the way that beat resolves, not only carries through like very obviously as a plot device to like further her relationship, her like character arc. The way that it's resolved feels very trite, and it's wrapped up way too tidily, and honestly it feels a little distasteful, given what happens. I won't say what happens, but like you'll know it when you see it. And it even goes so far as to have like a beat that's like it's like racing against time, and it's like, really did not need that. That felt very contrived. I did not care for that part. Did not care for the execution of that. But another thing I really didn't, I wasn't entirely game on, was Pedro Pascal's character. And it's not that he's miscast. I actually buck against anybody saying that this is a miscast movie. I really like a lot, I like basically everyone in this. But it's just that Pedro's character, he doesn't have enough to work with, and I think given the length of time that we are kind of spent away from him, it doesn't feel like these. It almost feels like he's not in the movie enough, almost. But even when there is like a reveal with him, it's good. It's good, and it reveals like his character's insecurities and stuff. But we just needed a little bit more, you know. But again, I think the moments of these moments of like even kind of like a pessimism and sort of that like allure of mystery that he has with her, and and there's sort of like that sort of divide of like that the sort of split path of like, oh, does she like go for who does she how do I put this, who does she who does she go, who is the is it trying to get this words out. Is it it's not really like wrong for her to want more, but it's like it's sort of like what each of these two paths of these men represent for her. Like Harry on paper is a perfect match for her. He gets all the things done. He again checks all the boxes, but like he's tall, he's handsome, he's good looking, he has money. She even says on one of the dates, she's like impressed by the way he just like signs a check without worry. Like when they go to his apartment, she's like her eyes are going gaga at the square footage of his apartment. $12 million. But then like there's also John on Chris Evans, who is it's the person who knows her, but like can't provide, but does know her. And I would say this movie doesn't give answers as to either the hows and whys of a dating feeling so money minded and transactional in this sense. But I think the sort of character resolutions that it comes to, while the journey there is a bit jagged, it's soothing, I think, too. It's the way, and I think that is because of Dakota Johnson. I think she is very in sync with the material here. Like the way that she just plays on her that like detached coolness that she has. Like she's almost she's almost like completely indifferent and bored a lot of the times. It's in some of her delivery, but she's using that as the way that she uses that as like a shield, and then it's even like she's using like her friendliness in her client with meeting her clientele as like a tool, a weapon, and a shield. And it's also a crisp, and she feels charismatic even in the way that she's sort of keeping herself at an arm's length. And I also really like Chris Evans in this. I don't know if this is like one of his best performances ever, but I really liked how sort of casual he was allowed to be. Like he doesn't feel like messier, but he does. There is a warmth to him, but it comes with a lot of this frustration that he has because he doesn't make enough money, and he's not a successful actor like he's hoping to be. But it's the way that he lets her facade down a little more and more. It does, and I think it does hit a lot of the good beats. I think for any complaints about how long it felt or how disjointed it could be a bit at times, I think the suit, that sort of frustrating, that sort of soothing warmth that Celine had given us with past lives is still there, and it's a good feeling to have. I did have a good time with this overall, and yeah. Also, I really love the way that Celine shoots these interior scenes. She uses a lot of like really clean, really pillowy minimalism. I could really feel the Edward Yang influence in her shots. I loved the way that she shot New York, where it does feel like, you know, a living, breathing city. But it also does have a bit of that like movie sort of lightness, where like there's never like really any threat to like there's like financial precurity, but there's no like a threat like, oh, am I gonna make the rent, anything like that. Because like, yeah, even though it's new, it is a rom-com in the sense of like, yeah, it's about money, but also we're in New York. Like the apartment that Chris Evans has, it's like pretty spacious for like for like where he is in New York, but that is sort of the like, that's sort of like escape, that's sort of like a escapist element, somewhat escapist element of a rom-com sort of being spun on its head, but like not too much. Again, this movie doesn't do a full 180. It's not that kind of movie, but the kind of movie that it is, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really nice. Also, I like the score. The Daniel Pemberton did the score. I was really excited to see his name in the opening credits, and also stay for the end credits. It has a really nice static lawn shot with a lovely Japanese breakfast on to go with it, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd be surprised. I'm surprised what this movie looks like a few more years from now, when we have Celine's next movie to look forward to. But yeah, I did like it. Definitely could have used some tightening up, but yeah, I was charmed. I was ultimately delighted. I did, and yeah, feeling a pretty strong 6, maybe even a light 7. But yeah, that's reductive ratings aside. What did you think of Materialists? I've seen some interesting reactions. I totally understand if you feel Trojan horsed by the movie, if it wasn't the movie you were sold, or but like I've seen some like really venomous and nasty reactions to this movie online, which very understandable, but also others not. But hey, what are you gonna do? And I think that'll be it. I'm Zach. I like movies. I got a lot more movies to watch. I got some more movies coming this week and pretty soon, yeah. And yeah, Celine Song. Yeah, excited for what she does next. And until then, I'm Zach. I like movies, and I hope you watch movies, because movies are life. Movies are good. And I'll see you next time. And you all take care of yourself.